If you want for your press to handstand to look less like this, and you actually want it to look like this, then this is exactly the right video for you. You see, when it comes to the press to handstand, there's two types of people. People that lack mobility and people that lack strength. Today, we want to take some time to break down the press to handstand to the smallest detail. We're going to see what are the separate parts of the press to handstand, which mechanics are at work, which muscle has to work when, and what is your personal limiting point. The press to handstand is a straight arm drill that's going to bring you up from your feet into a handstand. Training for the press to handstand, even without ever getting the press to handstand, is going to greatly increase the way you feel on your hands, your overall coordination, strength, and mobility. Yes, we constantly talk about press to handstand conditioning, but in reality, flexibility is king. You see, the more that you can compress during your press, the less you have to lean your shoulders towards the front, the more efficient your press becomes, and the healthier it gets for your wrists. Additionally, starting with your hips higher due to available mobility is basically like a cheat code. That's it, video's done, you know how to do it. No, it's not quite that simple. Your press to handstand is made up of 3 parts. The more you're going to be able to separate those 3 parts, the easier your press to handstand is going to be. The prettier your press to handstand is going to be, but especially you're going to be able to actually pinpoint your own weaknesses, your limiting point, and you're going to be able to train so much more targeted and specific for your press to handstand. Let's take it one part at a time. Part 1 is the takeoff. The goal of this part is to transfer the weight from the feet into your hands. For this, you're going to need anterior deltoid, general shoulder, and of course, shoulder elevation strength. Hamstring mobility is also going to be greatly important here. Start with your feet about shoulder width apart. Place them as close as you can towards your hands. Lean your shoulders towards the front, loading the weight into your fingers. Come up to your tippy toes, elevate your scapula, keep leaning your shoulders towards the front until you take your feet off. You're either going to be floating in the air and you know that you're ready for the next part of the press to handstand, or you're going to collapse straight onto your face. If you're collapsing onto your face, you need to work on your shoulder strength. Pike push-up progressions, planches, and general strength work for your shoulders is going to work here well. If, in order to get your feet off the floor, you have to lean your shoulders super far towards the front, you're like a hamstring mobility and you have to stretch more. Part 2 is the compression period. Part 2 is basically the make or break moment of your press to handstand. It's the moment that's mostly overlooked. Most people don't even realize it exists, but at the same time, it is the most important part of the press to handstand. You see, this is the moment when we're trying to push the hips up whilst pulling the feet and shoulders back towards our center line. Basically, that's the moment that's going to make your press efficient. These 3 points, feet, shoulders, and hips, are not able to move separately. They always move as one centralized system. Your shoulders and feet automatically balance each other out. The more they come in, the more the hips get pushed up. Now, obviously, a driving factor here is going to be hamstring mobility. But really, lower back activation is just as important. Yes, the shoulders are going to be what pushes open, what pushes the hips up, but your lower back connects the hips with the shoulders. In this pushed open position, your lower back now has to engage to pull the hips towards the anterior pelvic tilt, to pull the hips upwards. Only like this, you're really going to maximize how high you get your hips in the second part of your press to handstand. I strongly recommend to you, take this principle of the lower back engagement and separate it fully from your press training. Step 1, you're going to have to build the mobility. Step 2, you're going to have to build the coordination to activate those muscles. And step 3, you need to build the strength to actually use that coordination and mobility that you've developed. Basically, you have to flip your hips with an already lengthened hamstring into an anterior pelvic tilt. This doesn't have to be visually a huge change. Simply feeling and knowing that you're doing it, engaging the muscles in this direction is going to be enough. It's not easy, but I promise you, in your press to handstand, this is going to be a game changer. And by the way, this principle also applies for your tuck handstands, your L handstands, and so many other things that you're training every single day. So investing into that and getting good at that is going to be key. Keep in mind that you're only going to be able to pull your hips up with your lower back if you at the same time pull your feet in using your hip flexors. If during this pulling up your feet slide out, the shoulders are going to slide back out towards the front and we're back to where we started. There's one more thing that's important during this part. You have to make sure that your feet stay rather close towards each other. If right after takeoff, as soon as your toes leave the floor, you swing your legs open into a full straddle, you're never going to be able to compress properly and you're always going to planche up. Which, let's be honest, it's possible. If you're strong enough, it's pretty cool, but it's not going to make your press look cute and pretty like you're trying to be. The third and final part of the press to handstand is the unrolling into the handstand. The goal here is now to go from this compression moment into your full handstand. And to be completely honest, if you did part 1 and part 2 well, part 3 is almost nothing because your hands, shoulders and hips are already aligned, and all that needs to happen now is that your legs come around into the full straddle. If you miss this part 2, part 3 is going to be difficult because you're going to bring your legs around into a planche, you're going to have to arch, and you're going to end up in a banana handstand. You might make it, but there's going to be a lot of work left for you to get into a straight handstand, as you have to straighten everything out, running the risk of losing balance and losing control. So really, when training for your press to handstand, you need to focus on 3 things. Raw shoulder strength to be able to load the weight from your feet into the hands without collapsing. Hamstring mobility, lower back strength and coordination and compression strength for the second part. And of course, press to handstand specific handstand exercises such as straddles and straight leg isolation. If you want to take your press to handstand training more serious, follow the link down below, work your way through the in-depth customization, and I'm going to send you your own very specific press to handstand workout right into your inbox for free. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for training your press to handstand with me. If you want to see more press related content or general handstand and calisthenics content, then make sure you head over to my channel and check out other videos such as the best press to handstand progressions, the most important handstand exercises, and of course, press to handstand stretching and conditioning follow along classes. Until next time, have a good one.